Welcome to the Leading for School Improvement Coffee Break. I am Dr. Karen Woodson, founder of Leading for School Improvement, home of the LSI Coffee Break series. This coffee break will focus on how to create a vision for an equitable school-wide ELD model. Grab your coffee, kick back, and get ready to take your next steps in our EL-centered school improvement journey. Our English learners, whether they are currently in the ESOL program, just recently exited the ESOL program, or perhaps exited quite some time ago, they form a range, they form a continuum of needs. Not all of our English learners fit into one little category. We have ELs who are gifted and talented. We have ELs who are completely on grade level and ready to go. They just need the English language piece. We have ELs at different language levels of proficiency in English. Some of our ELs have learning disabilities like any other student would. Some of our ELs are newly arrived to the United States, having just come from outside of the US within the past year and need specialized supports to adjust. Some of our ELs have interrupted or limited formal education. Some of our ELs live in Title I areas, and because they are living in poverty, they are most likely at a higher probability of failure. They're at-risk students. Our charge then is to figure out, wow, how do I create conditions that meet all of these various needs and keep the instruction at the highest of levels? So it starts with a vision. One of the things we need to do as a leader in a high EL impact school is to take the time to envision what an ESOL program might look like. Let me explain. So at LSI Elementary, we said, okay, our vision is that ESOL teachers and grade level teachers would form professional learning communities, or PLCs, to create equitable conditions for all students to learn academic English and grade level content simultaneously. We decided with the numbers that I just shared with you that we were way beyond trying to target individual students, although you do that too, but we had to shift to say, wait, the impact of our EL population is such that we just need school-wide equitable conditions for all students to learn that academic English and grade level content at the same time. That was the vision that we adopted. So what was the previous vision? It was one where ESOL teachers are seen more as a case manager. And this typically happens in many schools. It's been my experience over the past years. I've got 35 years in education. I've got a lot of feedback from different schools who deal with this population. And what happens typically is that your ESOL teachers are assigned to serve equal numbers of ESOL students across the grade levels. Equal numbers. So I'm going to have 50, you're going to have 50, I'm going to have 50, and I might be in grades 2 and 3. You might be in grades 4 and 5. You might be in grades 2, 3, and 4, depending on what equal is in your school. Also, when we are envisioning ESOL as a case manager approach, individual teachers then make determinations about which curriculum they use to deliver ESOL instruction. Which method are they going to use? Are they going to pull out? Are they going to plug in? And individual teachers determine the amount of time that they provide on ESOL instruction. Generally speaking, newcomers, students at a lower level of ESOL, English language proficiency, do receive more time for ESOL instruction, and students at the higher levels tend to receive less time. But these decisions are being individually determined by teachers. In other words, the three variables of curriculum, service delivery model, and the amount of time do create what I would call random acts of improvement. Many of you are familiar with this chart in organizational leadership, where if we're not careful, we can have well-intentioned staff all working very hard to do what they feel is best for children. But we're going in different directions. Why? Because in the world of ESOL, I have this case management approach. I, as the ESOL teacher, decide for my 50 kids, okay, we're going to use this curriculum. We're going to plug in for this, but pull out for this one. And I'm going to provide 30 minutes of instruction, maybe 5 days a week. Well, guess what? My colleague is doing something different. And my other colleague is doing something different. How, with this level of variance, then, are we going to move the organization so that we can eliminate variance and align our efforts to meet school improvement goals? You can't do it when you have random acts of improvement. The benefit of taking the time in a high EL impact school of envisioning what your EL program could be to create equitable conditions is that it will align your arrows. You're going to be able to rein in how your ESOL teachers are approaching those three variables I mentioned. Once again, the variable of curriculum, service delivery model, and time. We need to align our arrows. The way to do that is by envisioning what an equitable ELD program in your school could be. So let's conceptualize this another way, this notion of equitable conditions. The familiar graphic that you see here is used to depict equality, where everyone gets the same to see the ball game. That's the first one. And here you have equity, where everyone gets what he or she needs to see the ball game. In both instances, the wooden fence is used as the barrier. However, in the justice frame, the wooden fence is removed completely, enabling everyone to see the game. While LSI argues that our school-wide ELD model creates equitable conditions for ELs, and it most certainly does, the ELD model can actually create justice for students when ESOL and non-ESOL teachers are in true collaboration and are leading the school improvement journey. Justice means our students get access to grade level curriculum, regardless of their English language proficiency. You've completely removed the barrier. So, part of being able to create equitable conditions for school-wide ELD means we need to take a moment to define ESOL. So at LSI Elementary, we said, look, let's not make it complicated. ESOL for us is two things. We know that we have to differentiate academic content. So my reading, my math, my science, my social studies, we look to our ESOL teachers to be able to help us differentiate that academic content for students at varying English language proficiency levels. Many schools have this. The problem is we stop right there. This second definition of ESOL at LSI is all about structured, systematic, academic ELD, English language development instruction. We're talking about the rigorous and systematic instruction of academic English as a new language. How does academic English work? What are the vocabulary features? Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 words. What are the linguistic complexities that I need to attend to? What are the language forms and conventions that students need to learn? How does the grammar work? How do I actually learn the language? So defining ESOL at LSI meant these two components. From there, we looked at the role of the ESOL teachers and we said, how do we begin to rein in that variance that I talked about? Well, we said if our goal is to create equitable conditions for school-wide ELD, that means our students are learning English all day long. They're learning it in reading, they're learning it in math, they're learning it in social studies, they're learning it in science. That's our vision. We had to shift the role. We said, okay, we're going to assign 2 ESOL teachers to each grade. I'm not going to worry about bean counting how many students they have. Because I'm thinking, okay, if we assign 2 teachers to each grade, they can really become experts in that grade level curriculum. That's important when we want to do content-based language instruction. We also said ESOL teachers will not work in isolation. They are going to be part of the grade level PLC to which they were assigned. So we did that. We said, okay, we need somebody in the ESOL world to be the lead teacher of PD, and we did that. Then we went ahead and we said, okay, what is the role of the ESOL teacher? What do they do? And we came up with these 5 bullets that you can see to really clarify what ESOL teachers do when we are trying to create equitable conditions for school-wide ELD. And so we talked about developing language objectives aligned to the content objectives. We talk about the need to collaborate extensively with grade level teams. We talked about ensuring accommodations are in place. We talked about the fact, and here's a big one, while ESOL teachers are a member of their grade level team, ESOL teachers also must come together and form a professional learning community amongst themselves. And that was critical in an ELD model because it enabled ESOL teachers to focus on the adult learning needed to implement the ELD across the curriculum approach. ESOL teachers really needed to dig deeply into the research and best practices in order to be the resource for the school and the experts in the school. We also asked that our ESOL teachers monitor the development of academic English on a regular basis using a particular resource called the WEDA Interpretive Rubric. I'm not going to get into WEDA during this presentation, but that is a resource that we use. The key here is that someone needs to be monitoring the development of academic English on a regular basis. If you're relying on those old English language proficiency test scores that the state gave months and months ago, you're doing yourself a short service, you're selling yourself short because the levels are no longer accurate at this point. So this is a sample school-wide ELD model. So you heard me talk about, okay, what is a sample? How does it work? Here in LSI Elementary, we had a very strong collaboration co-planning component, and we put structures in place to make sure that our ESOL teachers could meet as a PLC among themselves, that our ESOL teachers and grade level teachers met for a full day every month to build their capacity as ELD experts and to monitor that school improvement plan. ESOL teachers and grade level teachers also met daily as a PLC for lesson planning. So this piece here was absolutely critical, and I would say foundational to creating an equitable school-wide ELD model. We had to think about how we would meet the needs of level 1 students. These are ESOL students who are at the beginning levels of English language proficiency, and we wanted to define it so that we can begin to eliminate the variance that we saw as hampering our school improvement efforts. So again, came to agreement as a team as to how we were going to work with level 1 students. For level 2 students and higher, we also came to an agreement as to how these school-wide conditions for language learners were going to occur. So we agreed that our ESOL teachers would plug in and that they would provide the explicit ELD instruction in the general ed classroom. We also agreed that teachers would create English language development stations in reading and social studies and math science. That is where they learn how the language works in these core content areas. We also decided that ESOL teachers would create collaboration stations in reading and social studies and math and science so that ESOL students would have the opportunity to interact in the language. We have to make sure that students are able to speak, write, interact, read, and listen to academic English each and every single day. We look to our ESOL teachers to be able to provide those experiences within the context of grade level curriculum. So that's a tall order, but one that is made much easier when we understand that the resources you see at the bottom of the page are absolutely critical to moving forward with a journey to an equitable school-wide ELD model. The beauty of this model is that it was co-constructed with our teacher leaders working in tandem with admin. And that was a beautiful thing to see happen because our teacher leaders own this journey and it got outcomes for children. Wow, we're happy about that. So this is what station rotation looks like. This is what the teachers at LSI Elementary School created. Look at their collaboration for how we were going to create conditions for language learning to happen all day long. So in reading and social studies, we want students swirling, speaking, writing, interacting, reading, and listening in the content areas of reading and social studies. So what does it look like in the classroom? We created a small group reading station where students can meet with the teacher to work on skills that they need. Technology station. We had an independent work whole group station in context. Whenever you see the word in context, we mean you've got to use that grade level curriculum to make sure that all students, regardless of their English language proficiency levels, work with that grade level curriculum. So differentiation becomes key here. Now, where does ELD happen? Where's that English language development instruction? It happens in the English language development station. This is where the ESOL teacher comes in, works with a small group of students to teach them how English as an academic language works in reading or in social studies. It's a language lesson and a rigorous one that is situated in the language of the content area. Whatever is happening in the content area of reading or social studies, that language lesson matches completely. The ESOL teacher is also responsible for designing what we called a collaboration station. In the collaboration station, this is where students have academic conversations, where they learn to interact and negotiate meaning in the academic language that they are learning. This is also done in the context of grade level curriculum. So if we are focusing on main idea and details of a particular story, that academic conversation is actually about the same thing. It's in the same standard as that grade level content area. Teachers at LSI Elementary also designed, this is all created by teachers. I was just so proud of their work. This is what happens when you actually have a vision for an equitable model and then you empower your teachers to work in design. But anyway, I'll go on, I digress. The math science station rotation model has a similar look and feel. Once again, this is how you teach language in the content area of math and in the content area of science. As was the case with the station rotation model in reading and social studies, math science station rotation will require that students swirl, speak, write, interact, read, and listen as they interact with math and science content. You see the same similar stations that were in the previous model, simply because with this, we can maximize our ability to meet students where they are. Through being able to group them effectively, we can accelerate students. We can meet students who need gifted and talented opportunities. We can meet students who maybe have gaps in their learning through no fault of their own. We can meet the needs of that newcomer. We can meet the need of the student who's just on grade level in his country. This allows us maximum flexibility to meet student need. It is indeed equitable. Collaboration between all teachers, differentiation at all stations. Now, you only going to have so much staffing, and so what we are working with is making sure that that collaboration station and the language of math science station, that students are able to run these stations. And this was when we were in brick and mortar prior to the transition to distance learning. So with the collaboration station, we were working to ensure that students can run those stations, even if the ESOL teacher were not physically present. And we were also doing the same with the ELD stations. That is very much a work in progress, but when you empower your teachers to do it and give them the research and best practices, the time, space, and respect, they have the expertise to knock it out of the park, and they will do it in a way that is completely aligned to your school's specific needs. So I'm going to begin to provide some resources for you as you embark upon creating a journey that is indeed an equitable journey. Here are some guiding questions that can really help you flush it out for your school. Remember, our equitable model ended up being station rotation. That was LSI's answer to building an equitable model, but that may not be the case for your school. Every single high EL impact school will build an equitable school-wide ELD model that is customized just for that school. What I'm going to provide for you would be some guiding questions and resources that you can use to embark upon this journey. You see, there's a lot on co-planning, collaboration. These are the key questions to begin to think about as a leader, with setting up those critical structures to bring your ESOL teachers fully into the fabric of the school. Some guiding questions around level 1 students, and then some guiding questions around students who are at an ESOL level 2 or higher. Every single resource listed below is absolutely critical to being able to build a school-wide equitable ELD model. I would encourage you to get a hold of these as you pursue your journey. They were indispensable to us and to our teacher leaders as we studied together to create what ultimately became our answer to a school-wide ELD model, which is station rotation. So, in addition to the guiding questions and resources on the previous page, and by the way, these guiding questions, don't worry, they're also on our LSI website. So don't feel like, oh my goodness, I can't get the questions. Yes, you can. They're all on the website, and I'll show you a little later where to find those. So to plan for your journey to an equitable ELD model, it is a journey, as shown by this picture here. You don't just snap your fingers and say, okay, this is it, and then implement. Your teachers, you ever see that emoji with the brain exploding, like mind blown? This is what will happen with your teachers if you just go, do this. You need to understand that it is indeed a journey that is perfectly done when admin and teachers join forces to learn and lead together. I am giving to you a packet that is going to help you embark on that particular journey. You can, right now, if you have your cell phone, you're going to take that and you're going to scan it. And it's going to open up a resource for you, asking you if you want to make a copy. Do it. Scan that resource right to your cell phone right now. You will be able to access that complete journey, as well as rich resources that will help your school plan for a journey to an equitable ELD model. Our students are relying on you. They need us to create these conditions so that they can thrive. And this concludes our LSI Coffee Break for today. Make sure to keep up with us on social media. You can follow us on our YouTube channel by clicking in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Thank you for joining us.